Okay, shall we start? نبدأ؟ يلا let's start. اوكي نحكي عربي كلنا هون نحكي عربي ولا انجليزي؟ نشوف هيك participants. Does anyone need us to switch to English? We can happily switch to English if need be. If everybody understands Arabic, we will do a combination of both. Does anyone here need strict English? Okay, so everybody's fine with both. I think that's good. All right, let's start. Thank you all for coming. Great crowd. Thank you for coming on a Ramadan night. That's wonderful. Very happy to have you. I hope, and I'm confident that we will have a good value adding 1 hour tonight to talk about the extreme agile chain methodology, XAC for short. We call it XAC. This is a new methodology that we have come up with at Case in Point around four years ago. We have been using it with clients and also training people on it. And it's very agile, very quick, very simple. And I wanted to share this so we can, work together on it and improving it, inshallah, for the future. Okay, so let's get on with it. زي دايما يعني, as always, when we talk about project management and we talk about organizational development, نحن في Case in Point دائما أهم شيء بالنسبة لنا إنه يكون الحكي تبعنا practical. يعني نحن بدنا things that are simple, practical, effective. We can take it هلا and apply it and it works. مش إشي يكون theoretical و getting it on the ground to be difficult. وهذا اللي رح نحكي عنه في هاي من الأشياء اللي كويسة في هاي الميثودولوجي. رح نبدأ نحكي ليش أصلاً نحن بنحكي عن new methodology؟ ليه بنحكي عن Agile PMO؟ بنحكي عن current themes في PMO وليش هذا بفرض علينا نكون more agile, more dynamic, more strategic. بدي أحكي لكم عن الميثودولوجي اللي هي XAC methodology, extreme agile chain. How can it help? Why should I bother حتى فيها? How to apply it? When I apply it, how does it help? It helps really, the main theme for the XAC methodology is agility and speed. So for example, PMO setup should not be more than a 1 month endeavor. 1 month, you should be ready and getting value from your PMO. Anything more than that is too long today, too big a black box. برضو fast recovery of troubled projects. You should have clarity and clear way forward on any project بغض النظر قديش هو معقد within 1 month, doable. This is what the world needs today. Also, we need fast improvements to the PMO. ما بدنا big black box improvements where we do like improvements take 6 months and 3 months. That's all gone. We need improvements that are 1 month increments, like sprints زي الsprints. هذه كلها الأشياء اللي نحن we try to do في XAC methodology. So a little bit about me. I've been working في مجال organizational development for over 30 years now. منها حوالي 13 سنة أو 14 سنة في الولايات المتحدة. اشتغلت كونسلتنت لعدة شركات ومؤسسات. منها كثير اشتغلت لفورد وفيستيان سيستمز. برضو اشتغلت لمفاعلات نووية زي فيرمي 2 نوكليير بلانت في اليو اس وشركات أخرى. وبرضو اشتغلت في الريجن هون مع شركات وكلاينتس رائعين. أنا كثير يعني فخور وسعيد إني صح اللي أشتغل معاهم في المنطقة. وأهم شيء بالنسبة إلي اللي تعلمته throughout my years of experience as a consultant إنه مش شغلتي أنا إني أكون على pedestal to preach. I don't want this kind of consulting. أنا بدي أكون on the ground with my clients, adding value, pursuing opportunities و dealing with challenges. طيب خلينا نحكي عن البي ام اوز، عن البروجكت مانجمنت اوفيس، نحكي عن الكرنت ثيمز في البي ام او. لو اجينا طلعنا على الكل سامعني كويس انا ام اسيومينج صح؟ لو لا كان اكيد التيم عندي كان حكوا لي. I think we are fine. والكل شايف السكرين تبعتي I'm hoping. يمكن لا did I share? I am sharing screen. طيب كويس. Okay. Super. Thank you so much. طيب the current themes for PMOs for the Project Management Office. في كنا نحكي دائما انه في half life للproject management knowledge. الهاف لايف كنا نحكي 10 years. I believe this is becoming less and less. لأن things are changing really fast. فلازم نضل up to speed. ما بينفع نضل on the old ways. وهذا PMI مثلا اللي هم البروجكت مانجمنت انستيتيوت اللي هم الليدر اليوم في البروفيشنال advancement of the project management profession. They are understanding this with changing fast. So everything around us is changing fast. So PMOs need to change fast if they will provide value. فإيش الثيمز اللي عمالنا نشوفها في البي ام اوز؟ أول شيء البي ام او needs to be practical. There is no room for the PMO rigid, tough PMO اللي بده كل شيء يكون tons of documentation و really stringent where everybody is complaining about the PMO. ما بينفع هذا الشيء. We want a practical PMO, building practical experience. We need fast response من البي ام او. يعني نقعد نقعد لنا اسبوعين نحن نعمل البرزنتيشن منشان نطلع الداتا وبعديها نقعد بعديها الاسبوعين اللي بعديهم ونحن نرد نعمل الريبورت اللي بعده وعبين ما تطلع الداتا بيكون الريبورت is already old. ما بينفع. We need fast response مع البي ام او للبي ام او تبعنا. We need to respond quickly على الارض مع تغيرات المشاريع، مع تغيرات البورتفوليو، ومع برضه النيدز تبع الاكزيكتيفز تو ميك ديسيجنز. وهلا بنشوف يعني بعض الداتا ريليتد تو ذس. وي نيد تو فوكس اون فاليو، مش فوكس اتس نوت يعني لما نحكي عن الاجايل الدوكيومنتيشن از نوت ا جول باي اتسيلف. يعني فاليو اهم من الدوكيومنتيشن، فاليو اهم من الميثودولوجي. You know we have to be brave enough or courageous enough to say it. Value اللي انا باخذها من البروسيس اهم من البروسيس. اهميه البروسيس بتيجي من الفاليو اللي بتعطيني اياها. We have to keep that in mind. We need to have agile implementation. يعني نكون dynamic، نكون responsive، نكون سريعين، يكون عندنا agility in how we deal with things. لانه things are moving really quick around us. هاي هي الثيمز تبعت البي ام او اليوم. Practical experience, fast response, focus on value, agile implementation. This is what we want in a PMO. Think about it. This is what you need. This is what the organization needs. هذا هو اللي بده اياه التيم ممبرز، هذا اللي بدهم اياه السي اي اوز، وهذا اللي انت بتحتاجه، وهذا اللي بيحتاجه المشاريع اللي حولك. Very good. Moving on. طيب بدي انا PMO يكون effective. فلا we have to ask this question. Is the PMO being effective? طبعا الانسر to this question cannot come from the PMO head. This answer to the question has to come from executives, stakeholders, team members, department managers. What are they saying? Are they getting value? ولا ال PMO تبعنا is actually dragging us or wasting our time? PMO effectiveness means إنه we have to bring things up to speed. يعني we need to know. ما بنفع تعطلني وتحكي لي I don't know where the answers are. I will go get them. I want the answers on the fly هلا. برضه you need to give me a framework اطلع فيه على الانسرز. مش كل مره انت تجيب لي، ما بيصير يكون البي ام او يجيب دراما ستوري. دراما ستوري يعني يقعد يحكي لي اجى فلان عمل هيك، بعدها اجى فلان هذا، بعدين ما اعطانيش هاي الداتا، بعدين حكيت له انا بستنى منه. هذا ما بينفع. We need a structure where there are specific questions that always get answers من الداتا اللي عندي. هذا requires a structure. اذا هاي الداتا بدها دائما تكون موجوده، هاي الانسرز المينينجفول داتا has to be there. لازم يكون في structure يسمح لي اني to always provide this data, always provide this information. I have to bring up to speed. يعني ما بصير اكون متاخر، ما بصير احكي والله ما بعرف وين هذا المشروع، ما بصير احكي والله I'm not really sure. احكي للناس هاي ما خلصت، يحكوا لي لا خلصت من اسبوعين. Once I can bring up to speed بالدي structure, the structure has to sustain. يعني مش اعمل structure ويوقع بكره بس اتركه. It has to sustain, هلا for a structure to sustain it needs to be simple. It cannot be complicated. لأنه complicated structures fail. لأنه people cannot keep them up. I need a structure that is simple أو effective that I can sustain it. ويكون عندي دائما oversight. نضل نطلع to evaluate. نشوف put control on this. How are things happening? Where is the support needed? Okay, what does this data mean? What decisions need to be made? Okay, what approvals, what verifications, etc. هاي السايكل لازم دائما تكون موجودة و alive. للأسف مرات ال PMO forgets about this cycle. You have to always be up to speed بالميثودولوجيز اللي بتستخدمها بالneeds. Do I know what my stakeholders need اليوم؟ أنا عملت السيستم تبعي قبل 6 أشهر، قبل سنة. Did the need change? I bet you it changed. Bring up to speed. Make sure the structure, there is a structure. Sustain it. make sure there is oversight. وراح نحكي أكثر عن هذا الموضوع. فهذا this is how your PMO becomes effective. طيب نحكي عن بعض الداتا. في هاي من PMI في 2020 دراسة عملوها بيحكوا when asked which factors are the most critical to achieve success in the future. Sorry about that. 35% of executive leaders identified organizational agility as the top factor. It's amazing. اليوم نحن بنحكي انه يكون اكثر من ثلث الاكزيكتيفز بيقول لك انا بدي agility in my organization. This is a lot. خاصة with organizations اللي اصلا كانت دائما seeking stability, دائما seeking legacy, seeking history. اليوم الكل بيحكي we need to move on. We need agility. This is really dangerous. Dangerous in a يعني dangerous if we don't pay attention to what this means. Feel free to ask questions as we go. ما في مشكلة. As we go, we will answer questions. وبرضه بالآخر I will answer questions. طيب نكمل هلا. You have to expect Gartner شو بيحكوا لنا؟ بيحكوا إنه expect uncertainty اللي هو الفوكا وورد اللي بنحكي عنه اللي هو vague, uncertain, في complexity, ambiguity, and manage for it through iterations. فuncertainty موجودة. Manage through it for it through iterations. يعني ضلك شيك. Am I actually dealing with the uncertainty properly? Anticipation and adaptation. توقع هالuncertainty. توقع المشاكل. It's amazing how important this is. وadapt to it as you go. You have to improve effectiveness and reliability through situational specific strategies, processes and practices. هذا أصل adaptability. You have to deal with the situation. You cannot be deaf to your situation. You have to deal with it. It's very important. هاي principles على high level مهمة as we go through this. Scrum 2021 كله هاي أشياء جديدة. If management takes, this is a good point. If management takes 5 hours or longer to make decisions, the failure rate of agile projects is 22%, while the likelihood of projects producing unsatisfactory results is 53%. We cannot imagine 5 hours. Sometimes people take like a week to make decisions. You need to have the information. You need to make decisions immediately. وهذا بعطيك agility. وهذا بعطيك chances of better results على المشاريع تبعتك. Some more من 2019 PMI organizations that have low maturity on project management technology lose the budget from failed projects 42% of the time. فالmaturity in how I deal with project management وهلا صار agility a big part of maturity. Yes, please, if you have a question, send it. And as I go, if I feel I'm going to answer it in a bit, I will. If not, I might address it now or I'll leave it towards the end. So please go ahead and ask. Go ahead and send your questions. Sure. The top three benefits of project techniques include the ability to handle changing priorities, project visibility, very important, and business/IT alignment. This is from Digital AI in 2020. شايفين كل themes are talking about the same thing. بدنا agility. البرايورتيز تبعتي تغيرت. شو اعمل لك؟ I don't have the same priorities I had a year ago or a month ago. للاسف بحس مرات كثير هذا causes frustration عند التيمز they're not willing to handle it or deal with it. It's amazing how that is happening. Project visibility is key. راح اوريكم how that needs to be dealt with. وبرضه الalignment مع استراتيجي راح نحكي عنها برضه اكثر as we go. ممتاز جدا. خلينا نكمل. اوكي. طيب هلا نحن اليوم عمالنا نحكي we have a solution, we have an answer to these needs اللي هي ال extreme agile chain. extreme agile chain ما اخترعناها نحن from zero. زي كل شيء في هالعلم تبع البروجكت مانجمنت we build on what others have done. We try to refine what we see. نحن جبنا ال principles اللي we have used throughout the years في ال extreme programming. extreme programming مش بس في الاي تي، في الاجيليتي والاجايل والكريتيكال تشين. هدول الثري methodologies are very important methodologies that made a big difference في البروجكت مانجمنت بايامنا هاي. extreme programming واجايل والكريتيكال تشين، هدول الثلاث شغلات مع بعض بصيروا الاكستريم اجايل تشين، او نحن عمالنا نسميها زاك. فنحن ما عمالنا نحكي عن اشياء not proven ولا مش موجوده في البست براكتسز، نحن عمالنا نحاول نجمع the best of these best practices مشان يساعدونا to move faster و get the results we want. ممتاز جدا. هلا what is extreme agile chain؟ في الاكستريم اجايل تشين فنحن زي ما حكينا we focus on extreme programming, on agility and on the critical chain methodology. هلا what do these do؟ في الاكستريم بروجرامينج في عندك speed in meeting الاكسبكتيشنز تبع الكلاينتس. مثلا احدى المرات من اوائل المرات اللي استخدمنا هذا الشيء، احكي لكم ريل كويك ستوري. استخدمنا هذا الشيء a while ago لاحدى المؤسسات في السعوديه. كان في system that needed to meet certain requirements وكان في لستة requirements طويلة عريضة of what needs to be done. فالclient was very understanding. اجى حكى اوكي what do you think of these requirements؟ it's beautiful, we'll do it. خلص if this is what you want. حكى اوكي بس نحن we feel انك you have something else in mind. جينا حكينا نحن we love something we call، هلا صار في عندنا ترند هلا نحن بنحكي عنها خاصة في البلاتفورمز، بنحكي نحن we like Google like simplicity with Facebook like engagement. فاجينا حكينا نحن this is what we would like to do، ومشان نضمن هذا الشيء we would like to show it to you before we go programming, before we start working على المشروع. فإحدى الشغلات اللي بنسويها نحن we try to show you what the final outcome will look like regardless if we're talking about construction ولا programming ولا museums ولا regardless of what it is. I want to show my client what he or she will get قبل ما أبنيه منشان to set the expectations right والrequirements تكون صح. هاي إحدى الأفكار تبعت الاكستريم اجايل تشين اللي هو بيعطيني clarity in the intent and value of the project قبل ما نبدا حتى. وهذا المشروع على فكره لما اشتغلناه وقتها التشينجز اللي انطلبت كانت zero changes. It was amazing انه it was very fast. يعني it did not take long to implement at all. يعني كان وقت قياسي. يعني we finished probably in 2 months, something that usually takes like 6 months or more. برضو هلا لما بنحكي عن الاجايل بنحكي عن الايتريشنز ويكون عندنا كلاريتي في السكوب اوف ايتش ايتريشن من غير ما نكون متحسسين وشادين على حالنا كثير when it comes to scope. الاهم شيء نحن بنحاول نسويه في الايتريشنز انه نطلع something of value في كل ايتريشن. Another thing we do في الاكستريم اجايل تشين انه keep the sprints to very small black boxes. يعني ممنوع اي سبرنت تاخذ من 4 to 11 weeks. هلا هلا الرول هيك بتحكي 4 to 11 weeks اللي نحن بنستخدمها ولكن I prefer الفور اكثر من ال11. خلي السبرنتس دائما 4 weeks، يفضل 4 weeks. I don't like ال11 بحس انها too long اليوم. okay. في lots of good questions واظن انه I will answer them as I go. This is why I'm not answering now بس I will as we go. خليهم شوي لانه early عليهم شوي. هلا each sprint has to result in value. ما بصير تعطيني نص حل في السبرنت that client understands and appreciates. فما بصير تيجي تحكي لي هنا حطيت لك الانفراستراكشر، هي بديت الكودينج. I cannot read coding. I want to see value. فكل sprint has to result in value that the client understands and appreciates. هاي أهم يعني principles behind ال XAC methodology. هلا what have we been seeing من ال XAC methodology؟ مثلا achieving every objective is doable. Making every project successful is doable. Making every team member engaged يحسوا إنه this is actually their project is doable using the XAC methodology. Who is this for? Who should think about applying ال XAC methodology في ال PMO؟ هلا الاورجنايزيشنز اللي بيهمها انه يكون عندها clear vision وجولز for the project management office. يعني انا بدي يكون الجول تبعت البي ام او واضحه. بدي اطبق الاجايل بروجكت مانجمنت اوفيس بس من غير ما يصير عندي انتربشنز بالشغل، ما يكون كانه عمال اجيب جسم غريب للبي ام او تبعي، تكون الشغله seamless. If I want to improve teamwork والاكاونتابيلتي، مش كل واحد يحس كانه هو مسؤول عن التاسك تبعه، لما تحط كل التاسكس مع بعض nothing works. وachieve accountability across all departments مشان نشتغل cross functional which always project management has been trying to do. هلا how do we do this؟ XAC can help في 3 أشياء نحن بنركز فيها. يعني how do we apply هاي XAC methodology في البي ام او؟ هلا في البي ام او في 3 أشياء اللي we can address بالXAC methodology. أول شيء setting up and operating a PMO. set up and operate the PMO fast. يعني مثلا من الأشياء اللي نحن we believe إنه set up and getting your PMO operational should not take more than 1 month. 1 month. Doesn't mean it has to be perfect ولا it's complete, but it has to be functional. It has to start providing value. Another rule, we use the iterative approach, the agile iterative approach. Another rule, we leverage software that is easy to use. ما يكون السوفتوير شيء معقد و nobody can use or understand إلا يقعد له ب20 ساعة تدريب. We ensure عندك project visibility باستخدام software with Google-like simplicity زي ما حكينا و Facebook-like engagement. This is how we do it. How do we apply ال XAC methodology؟ راح يساعدوك ال XAC methodology if you apply it راح يساعدك بالأمور التالية. أول شيء setting up زي ما حكينا ال PMO بشهر. Fast setup of the PMO. I've done باستخدام ال XAC methodology done very complex PMOs in very complex and dangerous settings. It was 1 month. It was a 1 month for the initial setup والoperation. ثاني شيء fast recovery of troubled projects. We have used it on quite a few troubled projects. تدخل على المشروع بيكون كل حدا بيحكي عن المشروع شكل، اللي بيقول لك 90% done، واللي بيقول لك لا والله ما خلصتوا شيء، واللي بيقول لك God knows وين المشروع موجود. fast recovery for troubled projects is doable باستخدام الXAC. وثالث شغله بما انه نحن we will set up the PMO get it operational within only 1 month، ما بينفع اخلي البي ام او محله، فانا راح اضل احسن في البي ام او on monthly basis، فصير عندك fast improvements على البي ام او، فبضل البي ام او adding more value as we go. Super. Okay, very good. I'm trying to keep an eye on the questions to ensure that I will be answering or the answer is coming. فإن شاء الله yeah, we will do that. طيب applying ال XAC methodology على هاي الثلاثة items نحكي عنها، fast setup لل PMO, fast recovery of troubled projects و fast improvements for PMO. هاي أهم 3 subjects عادة ال PMOs وال stakeholders تبعون ال PMOs care about. بدي setup سريع، بدي PMO شغال، بدي مشاريعي to recover، وبدي improvements دائما ال PMO يضل يتحسن، مش يضل ال PMO as it is. هلا نبدا في موضوع ال fast setup of PMO. نبدا في البيسكس. كل PMO فيه البيبل سايد، التولز والبروسيس، وضفنا على التولز كنا دائما نحكي تولز، صرنا نحكي تولز وداتا، لانه الداتا اليوم صارت كثير مهمه ولسه في دور كبير راح يصير تلعبوا الارتفيشال انتليجنس في ال PMO systems. لا زال الكوميونيكيشن is key. Your ability to talk to vertically بالهيراركي وكروس فانكشنال برضه، بس اليوم صار اكثر مش بس كروس فانكشنال، صار في عندنا كروس اورجانيزيشنال، لانه بطل one organization that works on the project anymore. صار you have to go across. في عندك الجفرمنت involved، في عندك many suppliers, many stakeholders, etc. So this is also key still. Another thing that is still important, key, we have to always look and understand the difference between project management methodologies and the core processes and the facilitating processes. يعني مثلا there is a way that I manage my project, وبرضه there is a way that I build my product. هذا هو core process. The way I manage my project اللي هو PM methodology. The way I build my product is my core processes. The way I ensure quality, the way I ensure communication, the way I ensure adherence and regulation, I ensure safety. All of these are considered facilitating processes. So I have to pay attention to all of these as a project manager. This is also still important. Another thing, just because we are agile doesn't mean we don't have a baseline. Doesn't mean that we don't have a plan. We don't have a way of how we do things. But we need to keep them simple with lots of focus on issues and the risk register. Also, you need lots of focus on the governance, on proper definition of the PMO and its role. And you always have to have a roadmap for your PMO and what it will handle as it goes and it grows. This is also very important. Now, as a PMO, there are lots of things that you will be doing. Still, you're going to be doing scheduling, data analysis now is becoming more important, especially with the artificial intelligence. You have to do tracking, reporting, documentation, etc. Still, that exists for the PMO. Now, how do we deliver as a PMO? How do we deliver our work? The cycle that we started with, there are 4 steps in a PMO that you have to always continue doing. Always bring up to speed, like we said, have a structure, sustain this structure so it doesn't fall apart, and ensure there's oversight and governance. We talked about that. This is how we ensure that we will deliver. Now, so I want to set up a PMO. Always the fastest way to set up the PMO is to bring expertise, like consultant help or someone who has the expertise, who has done it before. This actually saves you lots of time, and it saves you from the need to make the same mistakes that others have been through. So you learn from the things that your experts have learned from. Make sure you have the right staff for the PMO. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can stay lean, but make sure you have the right staff. Make sure your PMO has a charter, has clear governance is very important. And it has a clear roadmap on when it will do what, so that people don't have wrong expectations. An important point here is that you have to communicate and collaborate on these. This cannot become a document. I've seen these done in many PMO organizations. They become a document hidden somewhere in somebody's desk. بس مش هذا الهدف. يعني هذه لازم يكون عبارة عن understanding, mutual agreements that we work on, not just a document. Cannot be governance is not a document. Governance is actually a way to govern the PMO and what the PMO is doing. Now, when I start the PMO, one of the things that you need to do is to start bringing value. One of the fastest ways to bring value that we do with XAC is we look into urgent action areas required. So you cannot say, wait until I set up my PMO before I start giving value. You have to start giving value in parallel as you set up. And this is very challenging and important. So you have to look into what urgent actions you can do right now to help fix situations. Another thing that to help you bring up to speed is to always review the original project plans. Always in the beginning when you want to show value, probably you're going to be thrown, some people will throw at you troubled projects for you to help with. Always go back to the original project plans, review the progress to date, assess the current state, and then develop an action plan to cover the gaps on how I will deal with the situation. So we need to, this way you will bring value quickly to your organization. Look into urgent actions required. If there's a project in trouble and you want to bring it back to speed, always review the original project plan, see where we stand right now, assess your current state, and develop an action plan to cover the gaps that you currently have. As far as project plan, gaps in the progress reporting, and gaps in your stakeholder engagement, usually the gaps are in these areas. Okay, so let's break the monotone a little bit. Okay, so we have a question here about governance. Yeah, there's always governance in PMO has an ambiguity of how to be applied in its best use. So let's look at some of the questions. Yeah, I agree, but if you keep it as a simple structure, the event we're going to actually be here for another, should be done in 25 minutes. So there is, yeah, the governance is really key. There is an easy way to set up governance. Remember, what do you want from the governance for your project? What questions you need answered? What things you need to be verified? What do you need to govern in this PMO? Make sure you have the right levels of governance, the right decision-making hierarchy. Make sure you keep it as flat as possible. Make sure there are recurrent meetings. There are ways to actually ensure that the governance works. Let's look at another question real quick. Yeah, how do we balance between compliance and yeah, the importance of compliance, and at the same time we want to be agile? I think this is the question. So we need to move fast to solve problems and deal with the uncertainty, but at the same time there is structure and there is compliance. One of my best friends and one of the people I learn a lot from on project management, one of the best PMOs I know, he says, never hate bureaucracy because actually it is there for a reason. It prevents us from making knee-jerk moves. So compliance is there to benefit us. Sometimes it's frustrating, but it is important. If we can find a way to work to ensure we get from what we want from the compliance, which is the risk mitigation that we need, and at the same time move quick without actually putting ourselves into risk. That's the idea. So I need the compliance, and at the same time I need to move fast, but not fast in a way that I'm actually working in a hasty fashion where I put my project at risk. That's the idea. So compliance is not bad. You need to balance both. When risk, so if you want to move fast, you don't move fast in a way that puts your project or organization at risk. Once this is understood, then you can balance between the two. All right, so we have a couple of questions here. I'll make sure I leave enough time for questions because there are some really good questions here I want to answer. So then you have to take care of the structure of the PMO. The setup necessary for a PMO requires that you have processes, you have clear roles, you have reporting tools, and you have a data structure because you need the data to do analysis, the structure to do proper analysis on it. So make sure you take care of the structure of your PMO. Then we said we have to sustain, you implement the system on the ground. So whatever you put, unfortunately, PMOs, sometimes they put the most beautiful structure, it just never reaches the ground. It never gets used. Keep simple structures, put them to the test on the ground. So you don't spend too much time building something that nobody will use. Implement the processes that you put, make them simple so that does not burden people. Do recurrent reporting, analyze data and give people valuable information from it, and make sure you do stakeholder engagement right. Meaningful meetings, meaningful reports, and meaningful action items. And then on the oversight side and governance, ensure that the projects and its phases are initiated, planned, executed, monitored, and controlled, and closed properly, which is very important. And this is related also to compliance. Make sure the stakeholders are engaged, as stakeholder expectations are managed, risks are managed, the integrations and the interfaces are managed properly. Many people would want to be left alone on projects, but that might put risk if not everybody who must be involved is involved. Ensure that people are using the PM system. Unfortunately, sometimes the only people who are using the PM system is the PMO. That does not work. Make sure it's providing value. We have to ask this question courageously. Is the PMO providing you value? If not, let's talk about it. What would be value to you from the PMO? Okay. We need to make sure that progress is being measured. We can actually tell where we stand. and the project and system are controlled. So we can tell if there are errors, if we're not following the system, etc. Okay, very good. So that's how you do a fast setup for a PMO. How about the fast recovery for troubled projects? What are the key highlights here? This is what needs to be done. First of all, you need to define multi-level support structure. Your project needs support. So let's say we have a project that needs recovery, or we're not really sure where it stands right now. First of all, make sure every project needs multi-level support structure, meaning support at the team level, at the departmental level, at the executive level. This way you will get the right support. Support will not come from the team alone. Departments have to support, executives have to support, and they will be happy to support if you provide them the structure that allows them to support without wasting their time. You need to manage risks effectively, very important, and progressively elaborate project details throughout the phases. I don't have to have all the details from day one. As I go, I elaborate, and this is a very important concept in project management. The WBS is still important, the work breakdown structure. The only difference is that it does not have to be detailed from the beginning. As we go, we detail, and it might change, but the structure is key in the WBS, which means we ensure that we have phases, we have deliverables per phase, and we have also work packages per deliverable. We have to ensure timely project delivery where the critical chain plays a role. How does critical chain do that? There is a methodology in the critical chain that ensures that you give yourself enough buffers to ensure that your project will finish on time. So in troubled projects, make sure that stakeholders are engaged, manage their expectations, be clear, clarity is key. Make sure change management is in place to ensure that we can talk clearly about where the project is without resistance, and to use agile project management. All of these help in the recovery of troubled projects. Okay, let's talk about this also a little bit. You always have to have a roadmap for your PMO, how the PMO will start providing value. If there is no roadmap, people will rush the PMO into what they want done, even though the PMO is not ready. So you have to be really careful about that. This is why if you look at the bottom of this diagram real quick, there's a lot we can say here, but the most important thing I want to say is that as we build the setup for our PMO, we have to ensure that there is continuous improvement, which is the last point we talked about. Agile continuous improvement, not on the project only, but also on the PMO. So I want to know from the beginning, what are we planning to build into our PMO every single month? It can change, but I want to know from the beginning. Because if somebody is asking for something that will happen 6 months from now, they know that this is going to happen 6 months from now. If you want it now, then maybe we need to switch things around and change priorities. This is very important. Now, fast improvements for the PMO is the last point that I was talking about. And I want to integrate this. How does this align with strategy? How does the PMO align with strategy, align with Agile? And how can we align all of these together with the improvements to the PMO that we want to do? Now, the project management office is as close to strategy, is more close to strategy than it ever was. Alignment of the projects with strategy is today key. This is why in many cases when we do the project management office, we're sometimes deviating from that terminology. We're doing things called like the exponential growth unit, which includes PMO, and it includes the function of ensuring proper strategy execution. So now many PMOs will be trending towards not only handling initiatives, but also handling the strategy execution across departments and measuring and evaluating that. And for that, we usually use OKRs. Now, in addition to this, always keep the idea of monthly evaluation and review and refinements. So monthly evaluation and review and refinements on the projects, on the PMO improvements, and on the strategy execution. If that is handled by one unit, which is the PMO, this will make things much more focused. This is what we have seen with organizations. We're almost done. If we wanted to combine these three elements in the extreme agile chain, how do we do it? Which is the element of setting up the PMO in 1 month, dealing with troubled projects, and ensuring we have a PMO improvement, continuous improvement, agile continuous improvement initiative. In week 1, we start with info gathering and initial setup. So as we said, we look into urgent actions required, review original project plans, assess the current state, do a fast PMO setup to get the PMO on the ground. In week 2, we review, validate, and update the work breakdown structures. They have to have a structure. That's why it's called structure. Phased, deliverable, we always do. Phased, deliverable work package. And if we need activities, we add the activities. And then we started using more of the Kanbans for the weekly schedules. So we use the Kanban when we go into the activities and we want to check week by week what we are doing. We go into the Kanban setup. Sometimes we use Trello. Sometimes we use the PMO tool that we have by case in point. And sometimes we use Microsoft. In week 2 also, we get a clear way forward on the critical path. What are the issues? What are the resolutions? What are the risks that we're worried about? How do we mitigate them? And then we get a weekly schedule, which means every week we know what needs to be done, and we see the activities moving through the week, and what things are spilling and what things are getting done on time. And usually we do daily stand-ups, like half an hour with the whole team to ensure that we are on track and everybody knows what needs to be done. In week 3, usually we go into tool setup. We usually set up a SharePoint tool that includes Kanban dashboards. It's usually customizable. We also use, as I said, we're tool agnostic, so different tools can help us with that, depending on the needs. And in week 4, when we are ready to launch, we have to raise awareness. So the PMO has to always have sessions that raise awareness on what is the PMO doing, how it's building up, how it's improving, how it's adding value, and there is communication. So by week 4, you should have a PMO running. You should have clarity and way forward on your activities, and you should have a roadmap that shows how the PMO will improve on regular basis. So the results are from XAC is clear vision and goals for the PMO. Project management is less interruptive. I'm not going to say disruptive, but does not interrupt or burden the departments. So they welcome it and support it instead of actually complaining about it. There is better teamwork and there is better accountability across all departments. So you can have a PMO ready in 1 month with the right PMO reports in place. You can have simplicity and clarity in the way you define your projects using what we use project cards to define the project, to define the progress for the project. Doesn't have to be complicated. One card, we like one card that tells a story. The charter, one card. The progress, one card. Crisis, in today, many projects require a crisis card. So we do a crisis card. We like to see dashboards for executives that give them exactly the answers to the questions they are looking for. These are from our tool, from Case in Point tool, I believe. I think some of them from Microsoft, some of them from our tool. I think the ones on the right is from our tool. These are from the Microsoft tool. These are also, I think, Microsoft tool. See, these are some organizations where we have seen the XAC methodology used at different levels and successfully. And we are now in times of turbulence. I'm finishing up now, and I will go into the questions. The greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence itself, but to act with yesterday's logic. Unfortunately, many PMOs today are acting with yesterday's logic. That does not work anymore. Becomes a burden, becomes sluggish, slow, and we become servants to the process instead of the process serving us. So you can make every project successful. If you like the XAC methodology, you think it is for you, you can come learn the methodology, you can get the tool, you can get the support from us. We are planning an Agile PMO Setup and Operation course where we train on the XAC methodology. This session will be from 12 to 14 July, from 2 to 4 p.m. KSA time. It will be a 6-hour course. We'll go through the tool and the methodologies. So you're more than welcome if you would like to come and attend. And I am done. So we have 10 more minutes for questions, and we have excellent questions here we want to go over. I'm going to go to the Q&A area for the questions. So Rana asked a question about compliance and the balance of compliance and moving fast, and we talked about that a little bit. Showing the client, yes. So Khaldun is asking, you're talking about showing the client what we're going to what you're going to do at the beginning of the project. Did you mean using UI wireframe prototype like Adobe XD or Figma or mockups? Yes, we use things like that, InVision, etc. Yep. Sometimes we actually build that outside these tools. Sometimes we have to build that UI. Can you suggest the software? I like the simple ones. We have our own software at Case in Point, very simple, does not even require training. You're more than welcome to it if your organization would like to use it. We like Microsoft PPM, but customized to focus on simplicity and remove the, there's lots of clutter, lots of functionality. We remove lots of the functionality to make it simpler. And we like the simple tools also that are out there, platforms, online platforms. We're tool agnostic. For some people, we use our tool when we feel it is useful. Sometimes we have to go to Microsoft if they need something beyond what we have. So it depends on what the client needs. We go to different tools. Microsoft is good. What will be the factors used to measure PMO performance? This is one of the first questions that need to be asked from executives and stakeholders at the beginning of setting up the PMO. People need to find the value, but what is the value? The value will change from one month to the other. So what's the value I'll provide in month 1, in month 2, in month 3? This is how we need to ask the question and see if we are providing the value. And if the value is what it was perceived to be. So we have to ask that question. The most important thing with the PMO is you need to provide me meaningful information that makes a difference in making my life easier, my work better, the success of the project better, and I can make decisions. Bring up to speed, usually without a PMO in place that is effective, lots of things are lost, like projects we have no clue where they stand, lots of things as far as compliance and governance are not done, like approvals on change requests, like a client saying, okay, and giving me acceptance on a phase. Lots of things are not up to date. We don't know where projects are. We don't know what the project's problems are. Are customers happy or not? So this is what we mean by bring up to speed. To what extent is that methodology is applicable to government-funded projects, either through PPP or direct implementation? We've done this with the government and highly regulated environments, especially when decision-making is lengthy, involves several line ministries and high-ranking committees, and any decision taken must have the public approval in consideration. I understand completely. This is because if we need to move fast, and this is the kind of setup that we have, then this is one of the first questions we need to address on how to move fast. One of the things I noticed, if everybody in the key stakeholders understands the need to move fast, then things will move fast. So sometimes you need to raise awareness about why we need to move faster, and then people will cooperate on finding ways to, there are always ways to move faster, but do they want to, you know? And how do we do it without exposing ourselves to high risk? Thank you, Rifad Hussein, excellent question. Khaldun is asking if in 1 month the PMO will be ready to be used. What is the total time for the complete PMO to be ready, or it will be a repetitive action? Actually, Khaldun, the PMO will never be completely perfect ready. With all the changes that are happening, with the fast maturity and growth that is happening in organizations, your PMO will have to change monthly. I honestly believe that. So get the PMO ready in 1 month, because you know what, the next month is going to change. So don't waste your time building the perfect PMO. Keep adapting as you go to the needs of the organization. Anas Jawabre, how to handle a huge organization with multiple PMO offices in each of its branch? It looks like a centralized PMO. The PMO does not have to be centralized. Actually, I like spread PMOs as long as they interface and integrate together. And that becomes more important in situations like this. Excellent question. Dr. Muhammad, What about the dashboards and KPIs as the project is dynamic and associated with the emerging risks? Definitely dashboards are key. Dashboards that help you make decisions quickly. Focusing on the question, what questions do CEOs have about the project and the portfolio? This is what we should ask. We should have answers to them in the PMO. Hajar is asking, can we make a maturity level assessment instead of current assessment phase on just a part of data for one iteration, for example? Definitely you can do that. This is the trend now. We cannot wait for having all the data to get some indications about what is going on. Definitely you can do that. Hajar is also asking, Zach, is it a mixture between extreme programming and Scrum? Yes, and critical chain, because critical chain is very careful about mitigating risk. So critical chain is key as part of this. We do lots of mitigation of risk. What's a Kanban schedule? Many people actually object to calling Kanban a schedule because Kanban originally was not a schedule, but we use it as a schedule. We actually try to look at the activities that need to be done during a week to get our focus only on 1 week. So we don't end up focusing on 6 months from now. And I want to see on in a Kanban schedule, we put verticals for every day and who is going to do what during each one of these days. And we try to link the activity. So 1 day activities. So if I have an activity that will take 3 days, I will break it into, okay, day 1, I'm going to do this, day 2, I'm doing this, etc. We connect them. So every day in the stand-up meeting, we say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is the support I need from you. Next day, we either say done, in progress, or not started. Okay. So that becomes, the updates become much quicker. المشروع اللي عملته في شركة الكهرباء السعودية كان related للproject management maturity في IT department, and I'll be happy to share more information on that. It was through Wipro actually. تفاصيل عن الدورة, definitely we can send you more information about it if you register على الكود اللي موجود أو هي التيم تبعي موجود. They can, they will send you more information إن شاء الله. يوسف is asking, حسب خبرتكم أي طريقتين أفضل أن يكون مكتب إدارة المشاريع مسؤول عن تنفيذ المشاريع أو مجرد مسؤول عن الحوكمة للمشاريع؟ Both are fine as long as we are clear on where we stand right now. وشو بدنا إياه يعمل المكتب وشو بدنا إياه يعمل in the future. How are we evolving? Both are okay. Both are okay. ما عندي preference. Depends على المشروع على المؤسسة وشو غاياتها. خلينا نشوف كمان هيك معانا هيك couple of minutes left. خلينا نشوف على الشات شو في عندنا أسئلة. Can we share the video recording? I think so. I think we're going to share it on YouTube. Let's see other questions real quick. Okay, I think we covered it. All right. Thank you so much for taking the time. Anybody eating atayef as we speak right now? I feel like atayef, so I don't think we have any. So if you're having atayef, enjoy it. And I wish you a pleasant evening. وكل عام وأنتم بخير. I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for attending. I really appreciate it. Take good care. Good night.